Hey everybody, welcome back to Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt from the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and today we have Will Grouilx and Craig Cornwall with us. And boys, you guys both did a time trial this weekend in beautiful Boise, and I was checking the weather. I think the high was 40 degrees. Normally, people aren't out cycling in mid-30s. How was that 15K time trial? Will, what'd you think? It seems a little chilly.
It was pretty chilly. It's fortunately, I think I can say it's not the coldest time trial, but gosh, that I've had to do. We had a really cold one in nationals a couple of years back in Grand Junction, but it's kind of hard to get up for a race in those types of conditions.
So Craig, this time trial was set up for veterans to make the standard and qualify for VA 2021 training stipend. So obviously it was essential to set this up. The other thing that's pretty cool is the U.S. Para-cycling National Championships are going to be in Boise in July, and that'll be the last race before Tokyo. Craig, you're looking to try to possibly make that Paralympic team?
I've got a ways to go to get on that team. There's some guys. I mean, the quality and the level of competition has come up drastically in the last few years. There's been a lot of new people joining the sport. The technology has come a long ways. I mean, if we were to race against ourselves on the same equipment, on the equipment that we were using 10 years ago, it wouldn't even be a competition. I mean, everybody is so much faster now than we were 10 years ago that there's no comparison. So it's been really nice progression over the last couple of years.
So Craig, you were actually, and I look at your background, mechanical engineer, NASA. Anytime you see NASA, you're like, okay, this guy's a pretty bright guy.
Yeah, he's like a real rocket scientist.
Yes, he is a real rocket scientist. I like that.
Robot scientist, but yeah.
So robot scientist, but back between 95 and 97, you're down here in Coronado in the Navy. Talk a little about what happened. You're on your motorcycle. What happened that day that changed your life?
I was actually going through training to be a SEAL. I was in BUD/S, and if in that training kind of environment, you kind of try and take advantage of every opportunity that you have to not have to do extra work, because there's plenty of work to do every day. So I was actually staying at a place down in Imperial Beach as opposed to sleeping in the barracks that day, and because we're always subject to inspection and that kind of thing, and the cleaner your room is, the better you are. So if you're not sleeping in it, it's automatically going to be cleaner. So I was coming up from IB one morning about 4 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't late, but I wasn't early, and so I was I was moving along handily, and then wrecked my motorcycle and broke my back. So, yeah, that morning was kind of crazy. I hit a curb and I flew a little ways, and then I kind of wake up sort of on the street with people working on me, and then the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital with a broken back. So.
And when did you get connected with CAF?
Pretty early. So when I was in the hospital, I was in San Diego spinal cord injury unit down there, and Al Kovac comes rolling into my room, and he was like, "Oh, so you're going through BUD/S, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was." And he said, "Yeah, I was a SEAL when I got hurt. He got hurt in a jumping accident." He was like, "I'm a quad. You're a para. You've got no excuses. Get out of bed. Let's go." And so it was, a lot of people talk about how they went through this transition and that kind of thing, and they dealt with bad times in their life. And I moved out of the hospital, out of the rehab hospital, into Al's place. And so there was not really any time to feel sorry for yourself, I was getting fitted for a raised chair before I was out of the hospital. I had to ask the hospital to approve me to go to a ski clinic in under a downhill skiing clinic in less than a year. And they basically said, well, you're going to do it either way. So I guess we'll give you our blessing, because we're not going to, if we say no, you're still going to go. So yeah, I basically said, well, you can sign it or I'll forge your signature because I'm going to go ski.
So sport was pretty essential in
Pretty
getting
essential,
you back.
yeah. It's a tough thing to get back. And so to be able to go directly from, the level of, athleticism that I was working with before I got hurt, and to be able to transition kind of directly to adaptive sport and that sort of thing was pretty great. I did the Challenge Athletes Foundation. They did a triathlon, San Diego Triathlon Challenge, when they went up Torrey Pines and up into there. I did the race chair portion of that. That was a pretty insane push.
We ended up changing that run course because we were like, we're going to kill somebody on a racing chair. We do a
You're
different
either going to die
now.
going backwards down the hill, or you're going to die going forwards, missing the corner. It was sketchy.
It was pretty sketchy. So Will, you got into you were injured in a motorcycle crash as well. Did you get back into sport pretty quickly?
I mean, as soon as I possibly could. It was always, sports was always a big part of my life. And I think for me, I was introduced to wheelchair rugby right away. It was, I was definitely drawn to the contact part of the sport, and kind of doing a team sport too. I think the thing, sports for me is as much mentally rehabilitative as it is physically. And being around a group of guys that have sort of been there and done that for you for years, just really accelerated kind of my learning curve and how to deal with life after, disability, and, dealing with that type of adversity and traveling and doing things. I learned things with those guys that would have taken me, in months, that would have taken me years to figure out on my own.
Yep.
What's always fascinating to me is when I look at the history, and you were in Athens for getting your bronze medal in rugby back in 2004, just how much the awareness changed from that Paralympics to Beijing, right, to 2008, and then again in London, and being in full stadiums in London with 85,000 people cheering on people in wheelchairs was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You live that, because you've been in 4 straight Paralympics, 4, 8, 12, and 16. How have you seen that evolution?
Well, I mean, Paralympics has just taken, it's taken a massive change, especially here in the United States. In a lot of other countries, it has been and was viewed very differently. And I mean, you can even, pretty monumental thing happened here is, just even a name change from United States Olympic Committee to United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and so the amount of change that's happened in that time has been massive. And used to be way back in the day, and pioneers even before me, right? It was a pay to play type of situation where you were paying stipends to go and participate at the Paralympic Games, and now you can take a very professional approach to it in being an athlete that way.
So you had to go out and get your own funding to try to
absolutely
get on the team, and no funding to help with equipment. And
there was none, and you even had to pay stipends in your own way to go to a training camp. You had to raise money if you were selected to the team to go to Paralympics, you paid money to go to the Paralympic Games, and so obviously that's been a huge turn. So it makes a big difference. Performance is a big part of that, and when you don't have to focus on raising the funds to get, to just get there to compete, you're able to dedicate that, and not having that additional stress, and try to focus on, your performance there instead.
So for 3 Paralympics, 4, 8, and 12, you were playing rugby. And then 2016, you were all in on road. You did a gold in the road race, a silver in the time trial, and then a silver in the mixed team relay. Why make that transition from rugby to hand cycling?
Well, the biggest part I think was just family. Playing a team sport. I had young kids then, and I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family. And I retired from rugby after London, and really wasn't 100% sure that cycling was going to be what I was going to pursue. It just sort of became a thing, and I tried some races at the request of some friends of mine and said, hey, we think you like this. And, it ended up being exactly what I needed. My wife was kind of like, when I asked her at the time, I said, hey, are you ready to kind of go through this again? And her response to me was, what took you so long?
Craig, balancing a career and the racing aspect of it, are you focusing mainly on road racing, and now with the Paralympics out there, that's become a new goal?
Yeah, going through, I've over the last 14 years, I did my engineering degree. We had 5 kids during that same time. And I've tried to continue. I initially was doing triathlon, and that's kind of what brought me to hand cycling. I was pushing race chairs and doing a lot more swimming, especially when I was down in San Diego. When I moved up here to Boise, I started looking at triathlon. I got a bike, and I felt like the hand cycling, the classification system was a little more well-developed in hand cycling than I saw in triathlon. And so I transitioned over to that, being my main focus. And then with family and school, and then with work, and I lived down in Houston and worked at Johnson Space Center for 1.5 years, with my family living back up here in Boise. And so, being able to focus on just one sport, training for just one sport, we still end up riding, a part-time job. Training is a part-time job, really. And so doing that and having a family and having a career, it's a balancing act, and Will's got his 2 kids and his family also. And we all kind of have that kind of, all of those demands on our time. And so being able to get your training in can be challenging sometimes, but it's pretty crucial to our own kind of mental health and physical health.
Absolutely. So you guys are both doing a little Nordic training with Wilson up in Boise. That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get into Nordic skiing for quite a while. I used to do a lot of downhill skiing. Before I got hurt, I taught skiing up here at Bogus Basin. And so snow sports have always been a big part of my life. And so the training aspect of doing Nordic is pretty intriguing to me. Without going down and becoming a quad on a monoski.
Will, you're doing a little Nordic as well?
Well, I am seriously contemplating it. It is something that I enjoy the grind, and I love that training, and being able to go and enjoy something different in the outdoors too, is something that's pretty appealing to me. And so, yeah, I think I'll dig into it and see what happens.
They have to find some pants long enough for you. What's the deal?
Apparently that's kind of the joke. I think that we'll be okay. I'll end up wrapping myself up in a bunch of wool and arm warmers, leg warmers, that kind of thing. Yeah. Saran wrap.
So during the years, obviously the participating in sport is great, but I'm sure both of you have been there for that next generation where someone gets injured and you get that call that so-and-so is just in a car accident, has been paralyzed. How important is that to both of you to be that person to help out the next Craig and the next Will?
Well, I wouldn't be where I am without having the mentors that I had. And it means a lot to me too, to be able to just go out. It's paying it forward in a way, but there's no way that I couldn't see myself doing it. It's just trying to guide people, and we've all been in that situation. So understanding in a little way, every situation is different, but sort of feeling like what someone's going through at that point, and being able to try to do anything that you can to guide them through that process a little bit so that they can start to feel some sense of normalcy again. It's kind of a big deal.
And for you,
Yeah,
Craig?
I think that as pivotal as it was having Al kind of come into my room that day and get me going, I realize how important that is. I don't know if I'm great at it. I'm probably not as nurturing as Will and a lot of other people out there. I tend to be a little more, I don't know. I'm not a slave driver, but I'm not good for excuses either. But and I think that's just kind of based on my upbringing and the way I've come into the sport. But to be in the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to help out some guys that were like some other team guys that one guy got in a wreck and ended up losing both legs, and being able to talk with him and help out and know how to navigate that whole experience and the system of getting transitioned into the VA and that kind of thing it was kind of an honor for me to be able to help out guys that I have that level of respect for. Another buddy of mine I was just talking to him a couple of days ago. He had an accident and had is going to lose an eye, I think, in the long run, or his vision's going to be strongly affected. And to be able to talk with him and tell him, hey, look, that's why I'm here. He was saying things like, well, this injury doesn't compare to yours, and I'm like, well, nobody's injury compares to somebody else's equally. The idea is that we all help each other out. Like if you want to complain to somebody, complain to me, because I get it and I understand why you're complaining, because it's a kind of a life, obviously it's a life-changing sort of horrible thing that happens to you that opens up a whole lot of new doors that you probably aren't aware of when you first get hurt. And having somebody be able to go through that and maybe guide you through that a little bit and help you understand, what, it's different, but in a few years, you won't even think about it. Like your life will be so busy, and there are so many awesome opportunities and so many things to do that I don't have time to think about, oh, I'm in a wheelchair. It just doesn't even really, until I got to change light bulbs, it doesn't really come up that often at all.
Will, you're one of the few people out there who's done the 4 Paralympics in a row, and you have an opportunity to go to number 5. Is that important? How important is that for you?
Well, I mean, I don't think I really go into any of them just planning on going. It's just going out and giving your best effort and making sure that you do everything. It's kind of checking the boxes. You want to make sure that you're as prepared as you can be. Your equipment is where it can be, and your body is. We do it all. We work hard, but we don't do any of it ourselves. We have a massive team around us, whether it's individual sport or team sport. And so, it's a goal of mine. I'd love to do it. And so if I'm able to check that box, great. If not, it's not the end of the world either, right? It's some days are great and some days aren't. And as long as you're putting forth the best effort that you can do, then you have to be satisfied with that.
So Craig, CAF Idaho is sort of a new thing for CAF, and obviously Jennifer Skisick has done a phenomenal job up there, and you guys were both up there. Talk a little bit, Craig, about the need up there for adaptive sport.
When I first found out that CAF was coming to Boise, I was stoked. That was a great thing to hear. I was kind of
giddy
in the middle. What?
He was giddy.
Well, I think that, San Diego's great. I lived in San Diego, beautiful town. There's lots to do. But honestly, I wouldn't want to live anywhere other than Boise. I had the opportunity to move to several places. I had some options when I was working for NASA that it was I probably could have gone to a couple different centers, but I wasn't going to leave Boise. And ultimately I ended up moving away from that employment opportunity because I wanted to be in Boise. My family's here, my wife's family's here, you know, and I've been hounding Will for like 5 years to move over here because this is an outdoor playground year round. If you're willing to go out and put some clothes on, you can go out and do stuff all year round. There's a ton of variety. There's a ton of opportunities. From Boise, I can be on a ski lift in 45 minutes. I can be on the lake in 20 minutes. I can leave from my house and go ride 100 miles, and I can go ride flat. I can go ride hills. I hunt, and hunting and fishing. There's a river going through the middle of town, so there's a ton of opportunities. And so having CAF come into Boise and be able to support local athletes and out of town athletes to be able to come and experience Boise and what it's like here was awesome. I kind of started this race series, the Treasure Valley Grand Prix, a few years back because I wanted to showcase what Boise was like, what the cycling community was like here. And I ride with able-bodied cyclists all the time. There are Olympic cyclists here in town. There's pro athletes here in town, and you see them on the road out here riding, and they're just like, "Hey, Craig, how's it going?" Like, everybody's totally cool with everybody else and super supportive and very supportive of adaptive sport here. I've never been in a place that it's more accepting and inclusive of everybody, of whether you're in a chair or not. Everybody's cool with each other. Everybody waves and takes care of each other. It's a pretty singular place, and having CAF here is awesome, to help integrate adaptive athletes into that community. No better place.
Are you sold?
Huh?
Will, are you sold?
It's been great so far. I mean, obviously it's been a challenging transition in year just for everyone, right? There's a lot of things that we're doing and dealing with right now that we've never had before. But yeah, it's been a great move for me and for my family. We've loved it so far.
Hey, love having both you guys part of the CAF family. Appreciate everything you do to help out all of our athletes. Thanks so much for taking time and coming on Challenge Athletes Live.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, CAF has been important for us too. I mean, at least for me, I'm sure Will would agree. You guys make a huge difference in our lives and our ability to be able to go after those endeavors. So we appreciate you guys a ton.
No question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks you both. Take care, you guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.